Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. The two eternal true gods from the Tsuming clan, who had been drinking and chatting, turned their heads, keenly watching Luo Feng in the distance as he outwardly released his aura. Is his spiritual will so weak? Merely a performance of a musical illusion technique, and his lost control. It's likely he's an eternal true god who luckily broke through in some remote tribe, and doesn't possess a secret technique to cultivate spiritual will, that's why he's so weak. Such a serious flaw in the mind is easily targeted. They watched with amusement. As members of the royal Tsuming clan, they felt superior to the other eternal true gods outside their clan. In their view, these outsiders had crude secret techniques and inferior secret treasure weapons. Luo Feng, they thought, was just the type to have hardly cultivated his spiritual will, lucky to become an eternal true god. What a fine 100 flowers banquet, but his ruined the mood. The tall figure covered in black fur, with eyes full of anger, had been deeply immersed in the music, enjoying a first-rate experience, but Luo Feng's actions had disturbed his pleasure. He was none other than Lai Mo, the third leader of the Blood Python Association, from the Dark Forces. A newly emerged eternal true god is not worth much concern. A figure cloaked in black scales sipped his drink. The Dream Flower Tower Master will soon ask him to leave, otherwise, he will disrupt the entire banquet. This black-scaled figure was the leader of the Blood Python Association. Interesting, Lord Baiwu observed Luo Feng with one eye from beneath his misty form. At this moment, the other eternal true gods in the hall were also paying attention to Luo Feng. After all, an eternal true god releasing his aura would naturally trigger the vigilance of others, a kind of instinct. Seeing this, the Dream Flower Tower Master, who had been performing the musical illusion technique, had no choice but to temporarily stop. I knew he was susceptible to musical illusion techniques, but I didn't expect him to lose control. The Dream Flower Tower Master was helpless. She had to consider the feelings of other esteemed guests. Once the illusion technique ceased, Luo Feng quickly regained his composure, becoming aware that everything in his room, the table, food, and drinks, had all been utterly destroyed. The eternal true gods from the surrounding buildings were all looking in his direction, seemingly discussing something. I've lost control, Luo Feng thought to himself. It seems that practicing the 7 emotions heart refining technique isn't quite suitable while listening to the music of the Dream Flower Tower Master. Sorry about that, Brother Shong, Luo Feng, who had been sitting cross-legged, immediately got up and apologized to Shong Qianyang beside him. It's nothing, Shong Qianyang laughed heartily. I just didn't expect you to be more immersed than me. The Tower Master's music is indeed extraordinary, Luo Feng smiled. It brought back many memories. I'll go for a walk outside, Brother Shong, you all carry on. Luo Feng glanced at Morosa and then walked towards the exit. Morosa promptly followed. As Luo Feng left the building, he nodded slightly towards the Dream Flower Tower Master in apology, then led his servant Morosa away. He did not look at me with passion. The Dream Flower Tower Master felt a hint of disappointment in her heart. Being immersed in the illusion didn't necessarily mean falling in love with her, but his resistance to the illusion technique is clearly weak. There's still a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the slight disruption. The Dream Flower Tower Master's soothing voice arose, naturally comforting their minds. This unfamiliar eternal true god probably isn't very strong. Apart from that, his spiritual will seems rather weak. As the group of eternal true gods watched Luo Feng leave, they all formed their own opinions. Master, aren't we attending the 100 Flowers banquet any longer? Morosa followed Luo Feng. There's not much point in attending, Luo Feng shook his head. Without practicing the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, the illusion technique wasn't worth mentioning. But if he did practice it, he temporarily exceeded his own limits and would lose control. Compared to that, musicians at the true God of void space level were more suitable for him. Supreme. Green-robed attendant Yulu also followed along. Arrange another place, Luo Feng instructed, and have Araya come over. The green-robed attendant nodded and immediately began to arrange it via a transmission token. After a while, she whispered, Supreme, the 100 Flowers banquet is being held today. The Dream Flower Tower has many guests, and Araya is performing elsewhere at the moment. It might take a while before she can come over. Oh? Luo Feng scanned with a glance. His perfect divine body's sensitivity immediately locked onto a hall, where Araya was performing. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. In that hall, Araya stood there, her body covered in vines that stretched out and coiled around various musical instruments. The instruments resonated naturally under the drive of divine power, plunging the guests into an illusory realm. Search asterisk the noelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As soon as the performance ended, Araya immediately bowed to take her leave. Wait a moment. One of the young men sitting in the place of honor spoke up. This young man had 4 purple horns on his head like a crown and eyes burning with purple flames. Anyone with a bit of knowledge could recognize that this youth was a scion of the Moli clan from Huyang City. Araya had to pause. I've been to the Dream Flower Tower many times and listened to countless pieces of music, but you are the most talented musician I've encountered. The young man from the Moli family began. I, Moli Lian, formally invite you to become a musician for our Moli clan. Are you willing? Araya's heart trembled at the invitation from the scion of the Moli clan. She didn't want to go. Entering such a top clan could mean becoming a mere plaything. Next to Moli Lian sat a red-haired man who spoke with a laugh. Araya, Moli Lian is a genius among the younger generation of the Moli family, and has even been personally mentored by Commander Moli Xiao of the Huyang Legion, with great prospects of becoming an eternal true god. His personal invitation is an honor for you. What is there to hesitate about? I am a musician of the Dream Flower Tower. I cannot leave without permission, Araya said softly. As long as you agree, the Dream Flower Tower master will still give face to my Moli clan, Moli Lian said with a smile. Young Master Moli Lian. I don't want to go, Araya said with all the courage she could muster. If she really went to the Moli clan, she would have no way to contend with the core members of such a powerful clan. She would become a disposable plaything. Moli Lian's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Seeing this, the red-haired man immediately said, Araya, you're from the Thousand Leaves Vine clan, right? If I'm not mistaken, doesn't your clan lie within our Blood Python Association's territory? The Blood Python Association is one of the 19 dark forces within Huyang City, secretly controlling the entire city. Araya's face changed upon hearing this. The Thousand Leaves Vine clan has 9 true gods of void space and more than 10,000 true gods, who reside in the Snow Winter district of Huyang City, the red-haired man said, looking at her. I should remember correctly. Within the Blood Python Association's territory, for every cultivator with even a bit of background, he remembered them all clearly. Because he needed to find fat sheep, and once he found them, they would have to be slaughtered. Palace Master Duan, Araya hesitated. She didn't want to relent. The path of cultivation was not meant for being treated as a plaything, but she was afraid of the Blood Python Association. Duan Moyun, your Blood Python Association's strength is just average, said Moli Lian with a light chuckle. His eyes also turned colder. The red-haired man also looked at Araya with some annoyance. Just a little musician, not appreciating the favor, get lost. Araya was on tenterhooks and didn't dare to leave. She could see that Palace Master Duan Moyun was very annoyed, and if she really just walked away like this, She feared it would bring great disaster to the entire Thousand Leaves Vine clan. Just as Araya was caught in a dilemma, a purple-robed attendant hurried into the grand hall, repeatedly apologizing. "Young Master Moli Lian, Palace Master Duan Moyun, please do not be angry. Since young Master Moli Lian personally invited her, it's naturally Araya's good fortune. Let me persuade Araya." Moli Lian nodded slightly. The red-haired man, Duan Moyun, smirked. "This little musician has quite the courage." Yes, the purple-robed attendant agreed, about to pull Araya out with him. Suddenly, the entire grand hall quieted down. Everyone present seemed to become part of a painting, unable to move or make any sound. At this moment, a black-haired man, with a simple-looking servant, walked into the hall. "Dream Flower Tower." Luo Feng sneered. "I said I admire musician Araya. How dare you Dream Flower Tower offer a musician I'm interested into some kid?" Everyone present was in a state of shock, including young Master Moli Lian and Palace Master Duan Moyun. Their fear was immense. An eternal true god turning hostile could easily crush them to death. Although they had their backgrounds, it did not equate to power. For instance, if Luo Feng didn't care for their backgrounds at this moment, they were just two true gods of void space. Supreme Lord Luo He, the green-robed attendant, also entered the grand hall, extremely anxious. "It's our Dream Flower Tower's fault." "Shut up," Luo Feng said. The green-robed attendant immediately fell silent. Luo Feng glanced over Palace Master Duan Moyun and young Master Moli Lian, and said indifferently, "From today onwards, the two of you are not allowed to step into the Dream Flower Tower." "And you, Dream Flower Tower?" Luo Feng's eyes swept over the green-robed attendant and the purple-robed attendant. "Araya, you watch her. If you can't protect her, hand her over to me. Understand?" The green-robed attendant nodded repeatedly. "As for the Blood Python Association, the Moli clan, the Dream Flower Tower, anyone who's not satisfied can come to me," Luo Feng said with a slight smile. "I'll entertain them warmly." After that, the invisible aura receded, and everyone in the grand hall regained their freedom. But they were all still intimidated, not daring to make a sound for a while. "Araya, come with me," Luo Feng said, then walked straight out. He. Morosa looked around and laughed a few times before walking out. He'd been ordered not to cause trouble, but if his master Luo Feng caused trouble, Morosa was absolutely in favor. Araya and the green-robed attendant followed out, both somewhat dazed. Only young Master Moli Lian, Palace Master Duan Moyun, the purple-robed attendant, and a group of their subordinates were left in the grand hall. This is too, Moli Lian felt indignant yet helpless. Completely disregarding the Blood Python Association, the Dream Flower Tower, and the Moli clan, the red-haired man, Duan Moyun, was furious and immediately reported the detailed situation to the Blood Python Association's president and vice president through the transmission token. At this moment, the president of the Blood Python Association and a vice president were attending the 100 Flowers banquet. "We must inform the Tower Master." The purple-robed attendant also immediately reported the whole situation to the Dream Flower Tower Master. Luo Feng arrived at the familiar Orchid Star Hall, where food and wine had been prepared in advance. The green-robed attendant whispered, "Supreme, today's events might cause some trouble." Luo Feng glanced at her, saying nothing. He had already been very restrained. To avoid causing great trouble for the musician Araya, he hadn't made a move. When he heard Palace Master Duan Moyun threatening with the Thousand Leaves Vine clan, Luo Feng felt a murderous intent. Such coercion, threatening to compel through clan allegiance, was something Luo Feng despised the most. It would have been satisfying to kill, but it would bring Araya a lot of trouble. Hence, he was very restrained, just giving a few reminders, which was already very merciful. Supreme Lord Luo He, a Blood Python Association member, walked to the outside of the hall, respectfully saying, Vice President Lai Mo is also attending the 100 Flowers banquet, and having heard about a small conflict between our Blood Python Association's Palace Master Duan Moyen and the Supreme, has specially sent me to invite the Supreme to the banquet. You want me to attend the banquet? Luo Feng said, holding his wine cup. If he wants to see me, let him come in person. There's no reason for me to visit him. Luo Feng sat there drinking, not paying any attention to the vice president of the Blood Python Association. Having enclosed himself in the land of origin for over an era, he had fully developed his perfect divine body to its pinnacle on one hand, and on the other hand, he had preliminarily mastered many secret techniques, turning his potential into strength to some extent. He was no longer limited to the lone move, Blade of Life and Death, that he had used when he confronted Heijuomo. Now, Luo Feng was itching for a challenge, eager to encounter more formidable opponents. Within Huyang City, the truly powerful experts could be rated as the top few of the 5 great families, the leaders of the 19 dark forces, as well as some leaders of superpowers in the local divisions of Huyang City, or some reclusive old oddities. Luo Feng preliminarily identified his sufficiently strong opponents based on the information given by his friend Shong Qianyang. Those opponents, they were the ones who ignited Luo Feng's fighting spirit. The vice president, Lai Mo of the Blood Python Association, merely a vice president within a faction of the dark forces, how strong could he be? Supreme Lord Luo He, does the vice president come here personally to visit you? The member of the Blood Python Association trembled with fear, worried about being scolded by the vice president during the report. Luo Feng's gaze pierced through the temple doors to the far distance. Your vice president has heard everything loud and clear. If the formation of the Orchid Star Hall had blocked sound, naturally the outside world could not pry. But Luo Feng did not conceal anything. With the formation of the Orchid Star Hall wide open, everything he said could be seen and heard by any eternal true God who had an interest in observing this place. Yes, this subordinate will take his leave. The member of the Blood Python Association, overwhelmed with fear, quickly left. The green-robed attendant and Araya inside the hall were also extremely nervous. Supreme. The green-robed attendant transmitted his voice. Vice President Lai Mo is fierce and tyrannical. The Supreme humiliating him like this, he will definitely not tolerate it. This is called humiliation. Luo Feng smiled as he lifted his cup. You still don't quite understand. At the 100 Flowers banquet, the President, Mu Yang, and Vice President, Lai Mo, of the Blood Python Association, were seated next to each other. They initially hadn't paid much attention to outside affairs. But numerous messages transmitted by Duan Moyen annoyed them both. An incident like this happening at the Dream Flower Tower would definitely spread within Huyang City. With the President and Vice President present at Dream Flower Tower, if they acted as if they saw nothing, it would only lead to rumors that the Blood Python Association was fearful. The Blood Python Association was one of the 19 dark forces in Huyang City. The dark forces were overbearing and wild, relying on strength. Without strength, there was no right to control those territories. After all, he is an eternal true God. Have a talk with him, settle this minor issue, President Mu Yang said. All right, I will handle it. Only then did the Vice President Lai Mo order his subordinates to deliver the message. During the message transmission, they both naturally watched from a distance. The Dream Flower Tower Master, Shong Qianyang, and several other interested eternal true gods also spared some thought to pay attention. Since there was no formation to block sound on Luo Feng's side at Orchid Star Hall, they could see and hear everything clearly. If you want to see me, come to me in person. There's no reason for me to visit him. The eternal true gods, who were paying attention, all heard Luo Feng's words. Exciting. Interesting. Not giving any face to the Blood Python Association at all. These eternal true gods reacted with both shock and delight, preferring not to engage in deadly combat themselves, but witnessing other eternal true gods do so was even more exciting than the 100 Flowers banquet. This unfamiliar eternal true god sure is bold. With both the president and vice president of the Blood Python Association here, and he still does not show any respect. The Blood Python Association has been rooted in Huyang City for long years. If they tolerate this, it would become the joke of the entire Huyang City. Therefore, the Blood Python Association cannot tolerate it. They must act. Several aware eternal true gods all watched the two from the Blood Python Association. President Mu Yang and Vice President Lai Mo both looked displeased. Vice President Lai Mo said with murderous eyes, "This cannot be tolerated. If we do, we will become the laughingstock of the entire Huyang City. Unlike the 5 great families, we don't have a powerful backing." President Mu Yang whispered, "The territories of the Blood Python Association were fought for. The reputation of the dark forces was also fought for. Since he shows no respect, let's see what he's truly capable of. I'll check out his background." Lai Mo stood up, "A fool who can't even withstand an illusion technique. I want to see where his confidence comes from." "Be cautious with every eternal true god," President Mu Yang advised. "Don't worry." Lai Mo walked straight outside. "Vice President Lai Mo, everyone is here at my invite for the 100 Flowers banquet," the Dream Flower Tower Master said. "Don't worry about this, Tower Master." Vice President Lai Mo, with every fiber of his being shimmering with a terrifying luster, his presence spreading, walked directly towards Orchid Star Hall. In just a few steps, he crossed the vast distance and arrived in front of the hall. Seeing this, the Dream Flower Tower Master could only follow. With 2 eternal true gods about to clash, it was happening at her Dream Flower Tower. How could she just watch idly? "My newly befriended brother Luo, he is extraordinarily fierce. I wouldn't dare provoke the Blood Python Association, yet he dared to disregard them so blatantly." Shang Qianyang was greatly surprised. The 19 dark forces were all established through bloodshed, causing even the city owner's mansion to be quite wary of them. Lord Bai Wu, who was also a member of the dark forces, knew very well how formidable the Blood Python Association was. The Blood Python Association is not easy to mess with. Thrilling. This is even more interesting than the 100 Flowers banquet. The 2 eternal true gods from the Tsuming royal family were truly excited. These dark forces, each one is troublesome. Now I want to see what happens to this eternal true god who provoked the Blood Python Association. Their status was high, but they were equally wary of the Blood Python Association. The dark forces generally don't have much background, but their strength is formidable. At that moment, over 10 eternal true gods all looked towards Orchid Star Hall, and the Dream Flower Tower Master hurried over as well. Inside the Orchid Star Hall, the green-robed attendant and Araya both stood in the corner, extremely nervous. "Big trouble's coming," said the green-robed attendant Yulu, visibly panicked, based on her experience living in Huyang City so far. Daring to blatantly slap the face of the Blood Python Association like this, they would certainly retaliate. "Is it because of me?" Araya worried and blamed herself. She also understood that at this point, she was no longer important. "Here they come." In the corner, Morosa's eyes shone as he watched the entrance of the hall. Luo Feng, however, continued to sit leisurely, drinking his wine. The vice president of the guild, Lai Mo, appeared at the entrance of the hall, a menacing aura spreading across him as his blood-red eyes fixed on Luo Feng, grinning. "Didn't Lord Luo he ask me to come visit personally? I'm here now. If you have something to say it quickly." Luo Feng continued to pour himself a drink, too lazy to even glance at him. Seeing this, the vice president Lai Mo laughed in a mixture of anger and amusement. The Dream Flower Tower Master rushed over at the same time, realizing there was no stopping it now. "I heard you're quite arrogant, considering the Moli clan, Dream Flower Tower, and my blood python association beneath you. I wanted to resolve this matter, but who knew you'd be even more mad than I expected. Vice President Limo shook his head. You should know, things have escalated to a point where they're not easily settled. I'm giving you one last chance to apologize. Pay up 10,000 cosmic sand as an apology, and the Blood Python Association will overlook this. Otherwise, heh. The murderous intent in Vice President Limo's eyes intensified. He Duomo, whom Luo Feng had killed earlier, had only a bit more than 10,000 cosmic sand in treasures. Poorer, newly ascended eternal true gods couldn't even produce that much. 10,000 cosmic sand was quite a hefty amount. Forcing Luo Feng to pay up so much would definitely save face for the Blood Python Association. Enough with the nonsense, Luo Feng, holding his cup of wine, said softly, either start fighting, or get lost. Vice President Limo was stunned. All the eternal true gods watching from a distance were somewhat bewildered. This newly emerged eternal true god, Luo He, was incredibly fierce. Such a fierce and domineering eternal true god was a rare sight in Huyang City. Normally, eternal true gods are quite cautious, and do not start fights lightly. Very well. Vice President Limo extended his right hand, and a black staff appeared. Instantly, Vice President Limo's aura exploded, his divine power already igniting, for Luo Feng's disdain had made him incredibly wary. He showed his most proud technique right from the start. Except for not revealing his true body, Vice President Limo had fully unleashed his power. Shatter. Vice President Limo swung the black staff, which, like cleaving through chaos, carried an aura of shattering everything and instantly reached in front of Luo Feng. In terms of strength and skills, Vice President Limo was far superior to He Duomo. But Luo Feng was no longer the Luo Feng, who had just arrived at the land of origin. HMPH. Saw the noelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Luo Feng gently waved his left hand, his palm like a blade, executing that one move, the blade of life and death. His hand touched the black staff that meant to shatter everything, and Luo Feng, having undergone one round of body refinement and grown to the pinnacle of the perfect divine body, unleashed its full might through his palm. Vice President Limo's blood-colored eyes suddenly bulged round. He felt an unmatched power crushing towards him. The black staff rebounded and struck his body, and a streak of the blade light grazed Vice President Limo's body. Vice President Limo's body couldn't resist at all. In the cycle of creation and destruction, the blade light pierced through his body. Stop! Far away, the Blood Python Association President Mu Yang was shocked, but couldn't come to the rescue in time. After all, encounters between eternal true gods happened too quickly. Luo Feng still sat in his original spot, his left hand holding a glowing true god's heart. A single exchange. The true god's heart of Vice President Limo was now in Luo Feng's palm. Mercy, mercy, the face of Vice President Limo appeared on the surface of the true god's heart, terrified, begging repeatedly. The black staff and some personal treasures flew towards Luo Feng. He fiddled with them a bit with his right hand and then lightly shook his head. You're rather poor. The shocked Dreamflower Tower Master hurriedly spoke up. Lord Luo He, please show some mercy. You both are esteemed guests of my Dreamflower Tower. I'll give the Tower Master face, Luo Feng said while collecting the spoils of war, looking at the true god's heart in his left hand. Vice President Limo, I'm giving you one last chance as well. Pay 20,000 cosmic sand as an apology, and I'll spare your life. I'm being merciful. Your weapons and treasures are included in the count. You just need to pay an additional 12,000 cosmic sand. Pay and you live. Don't pay, and you can't blame me, Luo Feng said, looking at the true god's heart in his palm. At this moment, the other eternal true gods attending the 100 Flowers banquet felt an intangible pressure, Even some felt their own true gods' hearts trembling. At that moment, they realized, a terrifying figure had arrived in Huyang City. This video will end here.